Good morning. Welcome to week 6 of Quantitative Research Methods. This is the week September 18th through 22nd. This week you're going to be working on your survey methodology project. If you go to assignments on Blackboard, that's where you'll find the written description of the methodology project. But this project, it will be due Sunday, September 24th at midnight. I'm going to start making all of your assignments. Some of them say Friday. I'm going to make them all Sunday at midnight. I don't get to them until the following week anyway, so that gives you a couple extra days to work on them. I know you have busy schedules. You're all, or most all of you, are full-time professionals working on your grad program. I understand that. I worked on my PhD while I was teaching full-time with 3 small kids at home. So we're going to give you a little extension there. Before this project, I want you to develop a survey. You don't have to conduct the survey. You don't have to give it to anybody. You don't have to do anything in SPSS. You can if you want to. If you want to take maybe 10 of your friends and just give them the survey and see if everything comes out the way you thought it would, if it was clear, you're free to do that. That's actually, when you actually do a survey, if you develop it yourself, you want to do that. That's called your pilot study. That makes sure that all of your instructions are clear, so that if you have somebody come back and say, I didn't understand what I was supposed to do with this one, you know you need to rewrite those instructions. You'll run it, you'll do the survey, you'll put it into SPSS, you'll check your Chromebox alpha, and if you have an alpha of 0.70 or greater, then you know it's reliable. Now, the higher the alpha, obviously, the more reliable it is, so you want to aim for something a little higher. So I would recommend if it's 0.7, then you ask some questions about the clarity. You look at your questions, make sure that you don't have any that are double-barreled. You make sure that none of them are biased or leading or things like that. And if they are, then you do a little reworking of it, do another pilot study with it, and then see how those results turn out. Okay, so go to assignments, go to the survey methodology project, download that. There are several instructions on what you want to do. Number one, I want you to write an introduction as you would for a research project, detailing the question at hand and why it's important. So if you're actually doing a research project, you're going to write an introduction. This can be a page and a half of what your central question is, why you're wanting to do this study, why you've chosen to use a methodology. It can have a little bit of literature to it. You don't need a whole lot. It's certainly not a literature review, but just kind of give me a basis of why you're wanting to find this out and what your central questions are. I do obviously want you to have some research questions and or hypotheses. Go either way, whichever way you want to go with it. Does need to have some demographic questions to it. I do want one question that's a construct. And what a construct is you have an idea of something, a knowledge, a skill, a behavior, an attitude that you want to check. So I might want to find out what your political leanings are when you vote. And so I may have 3 or 4 questions that relate to your political leanings. And then those 3 or 4, however many you do, will tie together. Okay? So that I can look at it and say, okay, well, on question 4, they answered that they're Republican. They lean Republican. Question 5, they lean Democrat. Question 6, they lean Republican. Question 7, they tend to be more conservative. They lean Republican. So I'm kind of getting a feel of this person probably is a Republican. Okay. You think about a instrument that I use a lot in some of my classes. It's called the managerial grid, and it's, I believe, 20, off the top of my head, I think it's 28 questions. 14 lean that you are going to be more task-oriented. 14 of the questions lean that you are more relationship-oriented. And you add their scores up on each of those 14, and that gives you an understanding of which way they are. Are they more task? Are they more relationship? So that's how you measure a construct, and that's what we mean by you have so many items. An item is a question on a survey. Okay. I don't mean to dumb that down to anybody, but just in case it wasn't clear, I wanted to make sure that was understood. All right. You can have 2 open-ended questions, maximum of 2 open-ended questions. I don't want a whole bunch of those. Okay. 20 to 30 questions total on this survey. Also, you don't want it to be too broad and too long that people are going to like, oh, I'm not doing that thing. But you don't want it too short that you're not going to be able to get much information. Okay. We haven't talked a lot about Likert scales and things like that. You should have some of that from your text. If you want to use a Likert scale, and that's where you're going to say, rate your attitude on X. And you have a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 being strongly agree, 5 being strongly disagree. And they put something there in the middle. You can have that sort of thing. All right. Think about the visual appeal. Make sure it looks attractive. Make sure that it's easy to read, that you have a nice font, that the font is big enough to read. that it's laid out in such a way that it's clear these responses go with this item, those types of things. So make sure that's all taken care of really well. Make sure all your instructions are clear. Again, you might share this with a colleague or share with a couple of friends and say, can you read through this? Would you understand what you're supposed to do? And ask them to be critical. The more critical they are, the more problems you can head off before you actually send out this survey, the better off you're going to be. Okay? And then in a brief narrative at the end, explain how you're going to answer each research question. So I gave you an example here for research question 1. Is there a relationship between years of experience and level of influence for a college sports public relations director? I will conduct a correlation and regression. My independent variable is years of experience and is interval, and my dependent variable is level of influence, which has 3 levels, high, medium, or low. You need to do that for each research question or hypothesis. Not for each question, each research question or hypothesis. Okay? Again, that is due Sunday, September 24th by midnight. I should have all of your survey survey journal art critiques submitted and all of your first assessments done. Again, this is one of those that a little bit different to try and teach this online, but you've got your text, you've got the research questions, or the research methodology project in front of you. You've had my lectures before this one, so you should be in good shape. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and we'll work through it together. All right? Later this week, be expecting a video, just a little brief introduction to SPSS. I've got to figure out the logistics of how I want to do that. But look for Wednesday or Thursday beginning something like that, and I'll kind of show you how you would go into SPSS and run some of these stats, because it's really interesting. And if you have it, then if you have the program, if you have SPSS, then it's a good idea to start checking it out, and it can be really, really fun. So have a great week.